Okay, so welcome back. This particular video, what we'll do is we'll look at how to use the APIs and pass information from Internet Movie Database. And to be honest, you can use any website that has an API prepared into your pages. So if you had watched our previous lesson, so if you took part in our Zoom session or if you watched the other one on YouTube, we had, I'll just pass it in for a second. If I just open this up, there we are. Okay, so we did a lesson on APIs and we spoke about how to take information from IMDb using a title, using an ID for a film, okay, and then using the API from that we got from Rapid API, and we'll go through that again, and creating you know, just taking particular bits of information. So for example, here we took the film title and then we took the rating. Okay, so what we want to do right now is we want to take the image from Rapid API. Now, in case you didn't watch the previous video, and to be fair, we kind of do have to go through it again, so I'll try to do that now. I'll try to go through how we did that. So let's start off with, okay, so I've opened up Rapid API and I'm signed up to this website. I think some of the APIs you probably don't need to be, but I think you do. So I'm gonna search for IMDb again, IMDb, and what should happen is it should give me all APIs that have been created to take information from IMDb. And in case you didn't watch the last video, so one of the things you can do is you can hover over each one and it will tell you a bit about the kind of APIs it has. So for example, this first one says get top stripe, get top cast, get overall details, and I'm sure there's a whole bunch more. One of the important things there, it says it's freemium. Now freemium will mean that there might be some free features for this API, and then some of the features you might have to pay for, or that it might be free for, let's say, 300 requests a day. So every time the page is loaded up, that counts as a request, or 500 requests a day, and then after that it might start charging you a small amount. The one that we went for last time was this one, yeah, because it's completely free. So if I click on that, and it's going to load some time. Okay, good. So in this one, I've already you signed up to it. So I think what you do is you here, I think this button initially says sign up or register, or start using API or something like that. But then again, I think because it's a free one, maybe it doesn't. So my API key is already here. It's already given me that. And now what I want to do is I want to take the code that I need and import it into my Django page. So I'm going to go to Python because Django is Python. And I'm going to borrow all of this for now. And then I'm going to start making sense of the data that comes from it. So I'll go back to my Atom, back to my code, and this is going to go into my views page. Okay, so in the home page here, I'm going to start with just pasting that in directly. So you need the URL. In fact, all of it should be nested inside. Yep, that's correct. The import request, that shouldn't go there. That should always, all the imports should always go at the top of the page. So import requests, and in fact we need to import JSON as well. So then let's get rid of that space. So let's test this out. Okay, so as it is right now, this is set up for searching for Inception. Okay, now you can either search for the name of a film, or you can search for the what do you call it? You can search for the ID. So if you remember in our where are we? In our table reviews object, so that's in our models. Where's our models? There we are. So in our models, all right, we have an IMDb reference. So this is basically where we type in our ID. So we're going to use that in a second. We're going to try and marry that up. So let's go back to this. So at this point in time, it's searching for the film Inception. Okay, so I'm going to leave it at that, and then let's see what happens. Okay, so let's run that. Let's save this. Let's go back to our page and let's refresh. So now what it should do is, as we've refreshed, okay, oh, what have I done wrong? Let's have I got a mistake here? Let's go back to there. It says, oh, no module name requests. Oh, is that right? Import requests. Oh, okay, hold on. Okay, so I'm assuming the easiest way to do this, let's try this. I'm going to push Control and C to stop the server from running, and let's try and install requests. Okay, so I think what I could do is say pip install requests, and that should install it onto our sandbox virtual environment. Now we've done that, let's run our server again. Good, so server running, let's give it one more go, refresh that. This time the page is loaded up. Okay, now what I wasn't expecting was I wasn't expecting something to happen here, because on our code what we've said is when we run these lines, so we run the URL, the headers, the response, but then what we do is we print the response text, and what that's happened here is that's appeared here. Okay, so all of the response for that has appeared right here. Here's the title and all the rest, blah blah blah. So what we want to do is we want to edit this a bit like how we did this. Okay, so what I really want here is I just want the image. Okay, so I'm just gonna, a bit like this, I'm gonna add JSON to the end of that because I want Python to be able to pass the information that comes from that response. So that's why I imported JSON there, and now I've added that function on the end of that response. And I don't need to print, so I'm going to get rid of that, because basically that just prints everything out here in my command prompt. So let's get rid of that, and let's say then that image equals image equals response, and oh, let's just double check. And yeah, look, I can see it here because it's a dictionary. Yeah, so it's basically saying what I want is the image. So let's copy that, let's put that in there, and once we do that, what it should do is it should respond back with the URL for the image. Okay, and then what we want to do is, let's save that. We also want to pass image into here as well, so let's do that. So we've passed in our reviews objects, and now we want to pass in image. So let's do that. We say, whoops. So basically we're saying that image refers to image. So we're creating a dictionary that would pass through here, and we're saying when we use the word image in our page, we're referring to that there. Okay, so let's save that. Okay, and again, nothing should appear. So if I refresh the page, nothing should appear. But now what we want is in our HTML document. Where are we again? Where's our templates, reviews, and homepage? So now what I want is where it has image source here, I literally just want to change that. I don't know. Let's see how this works. This is trial and error. Let's hope this works. I've never done this before actually. So image, in fact we're just going to say image. I think what we say is review dot image. Actually no, that's not going to work, but let's give it a go. Okay, so let's try it. I think I get rid of that, I believe. Let's see. Okay, and I can see that my server has stopped running, so let's run the server again. Okay, no, okay, so that's not worked. Okay, so response.image, and it's telling us here that exception value key error. It's got a key error. Okay, so let's try put that into speech marks actually. Oops. Let's do that. Highlight that, put it into quotes. Will that work for us? Let's go back again, refresh. It's still not working, so we've still got a key error. Okay, after mucking around a bit, I've seen the mistake that I've made. I think the first mistake was, if I go back to here, I took the API for searching, okay, which basically search for a particular film. What we want is, because we already have the ID for our films when we put it in, we want to use the film API, which basically just gets that. Now, if I just do something here quickly, I'll show you. My other mistake was because when I did that, and I used and the request result, if you remember when it came through our command prompt, was that from the request we could see that from the title there was an image. Okay, now that's for the search. So if I go to film and I test endpoint again, okay, what should happen is there isn't an image as such. In fact, there's a poster. So I'm not even sure if it's the same thing. I could test that, but I'm not going to bother now. So so instead, what I'm going to do, let's do that now. Let's go back to code, and now because we've got the new the API is slightly different, I'm just going to copy that. Okay, let's go back to here, and let's leave the image in there. Let's delete from there up to there, and let's put that back. Let's nest it again. Okay, and we want to change that because, like I said, the API, the result it comes up with is poster, wasn't it? So the name should be poster, yeah, for the image. So what I want to say is let's change that to poster. Okay, I could leave that as image. So image refers to poster, and then when I say image, obviously load up that variable called image. Now if I save that, that should work, but there's a problem. There will be a problem still, and the problem is that when it loads up, it's done an API call for this address. Now this address includes the title for what do you call it, for the particular film that I searched up. No, it's for what the API has given me. It's already the film that's there. I don't want that. I want that to be blank, and I want to be able to insert whatever the review object is. Okay, so if I do that, what's going to happen is every single image is going to be the same, because it's going to use the same API call with this from the same address, and the title is going to be the same for each one. Okay, and only one of them is Inception. There we are. So now what we have to do is, let's delete that. Okay, and what we want to do is we want to be able to edit that URL so that it passes through information from just the object that we want. Okay, so before I carry on with the APIs, actually I've had a change of heart, and I'm going to do a video just before that because I want to make a change. Having thought about it, I don't think that I can call the image from the API for each individual film, and if I can, I just think it would be a waste of time sitting there and learning that when there's really no need. So we're going to try something else instead, just to save a lot of time in aggro and how to figure something out that might not be able to be done. So what I'm going to do is I am just going to create a static folder, and I'm going to go back to my models, and I'm going to import the images once again. We're going to work with images this time. So what we'll do is we'll start by saying in our project folder, so here in the main folder, if I just close that, so that's our Python project, sorry, our Django project, and that's our app. I'm going to create a new folder here, and I'm going to call that static. New folder, let's call it static. So what we want is a place where we're going to keep our static files. Yeah. So inside that folder, let's create another folder called images. Okay, and then what we're going to have to do is inside our Django settings, we're going to have to tell it where this folder is. So when people upload images, it gets saved in here. Okay, so let's do that. So we're going to our settings file, and inside our settings file, if I just minimize that for a second, we're going to scroll down to the bottom, and we're saying that our static URL is static, and we just want to add our media URL as well, so where we're going to find our images. So we're going to say our media dash URL equals images / images / and then we're going to tell it where our static files are. So we're going to say static files underscore directories for that, dirs equals we're going to say os.path.join the base directory, so it's going to be base underscore directory with static. So what we're doing here is we're telling Django that our static files directory is going to be our base directory, which is here, that's our base directory, and we want to join that with that folder called static. So base directory and static, and then our media root, let's add that in as well in case. There you are. We're going to say media root equals os.path .join, and again we're saying base directory, and we're saying static / images. Okay, so hopefully with that now, when we go back to our app, where's our app? There's our reviews app, and we go to our models, what we're going to do is we're going to add the image in again. So we've got our reference, now let's add our image. So let's say image, or yeah, let's call it image equals models dot, or it was image field, wasn't it? It was image. Oh, let's double check the documentation, so just in case you're not sure. I mean, to be fair, I'm not sure of everything, and nor will anyone, so what we say is we say Django data fields types image. Let's see what comes up. It should take us straight to Django's model reference. So this kind of right, so as I've scrolled down, I found more information on it. So it says image field, and then it gives me the arguments I can put into it as well. So upload to equals none. But what we want to do, let's have a look. Okay, let's try this. So I'm going to say that it should say image field. Okay, and I could leave that blank, and what I might do is I might put a default in, so I'll do that in a minute. But because of the fact that I've already created these records already, I'm gonna start by saying blank equals true. I think it's either blank or null equals true. Let's say null equals true. Okay, and I'm just gonna leave them both in, and then later on what I might do is I might put in a default as well. So okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run my migrations again. So I'm gonna say manage.py make migrations, because we've made changes to our database table, and then I'm gonna do that again, and this time we're just gonna say migrate, so it finalizes that into the SQL database. So it adds image back in. Now obviously this isn't ideal, so but let's do this. Let's go forward, Now the fact that I've left it as null, oh my bad again, let's go back. So what I should have done was I should have said run server. There we are, and refresh that. Okay, so the fact that I've left it as null means that, you know, I've been able to sort of not choose a file if I didn't want to, because before when we were creating a review, it would say that I had to do it. Okay, so this isn't ideal, but let me go and throw a few images in. Okay, so now I've uploaded them. Actually, if I click into anyone, if I click on it, it should show me that it's there. So current path, blah, blah, blah. It didn't match. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I wonder why. Let's come back to that. If we go back to here, what we should see is, as it's been doing that, if we go to static and images, it's been loading those images into a static file, because it knows that when it saves the file, it saves it into that static folder in the images folder that we went through. Okay, so cool. So now that we've done that, we want to go to the home page, and then we want to tell the home page how to load that image up. Okay, so just like before, because it's in our model and it's in as image, we're going to pull it up in the same way that, for example, we pulled up these variables. Okay, slightly different in a sense that I'll show you. So we start with our double curly brackets and we say review, because we're calling each individual review, and we're saying review and we're saying image, but this time we're gonna call the URL. So basically we're saying load the URL of where the image is. Okay, and one thing actually that I put in just outside of this video before I started was I also loaded static. Okay, so because these images are saved in the static folder, okay, what we need to do is when we're loading up images that aren't coming directly from the web and they're saved somewhere, for example in our folders, we need to add this in as well. So load static. Okay, so the next thing we're doing is in the URL patterns, we've actually got to tell Django that we're going to use static files as well. So otherwise it just can't find them, because if you think about it, when we in our home page, okay, when we call this variable, okay, so from the database, we're actually calling a URL, and you know that in the URLs page, okay, it will only find the URL if it exists. Okay, so we have to make it exist. So what we're going to do first of all is we're going to start by saying from django.conf.urls.static, we're going to import static. Okay, and we're also going to say from Django dot conf, we're going to import settings. Okay, and the reason why we're doing that is because in the settings we've imported our new set. We made some changes that, you know, so we're importing things like where the static is and stuff like that. So and then underneath here, what we're going to be doing is on our for our URL patterns, we're going to say as well as these patterns that there exist. Okay, we're also going to say that URL patterns plus equals static. So basically we're saying that whatever's in a static folder, and these are basically in settings dot media URL, comma, and the document root equals settings dot media root. Okay, hopefully if that's done correctly, I've saved that, and I can see the server still running. So now if we go back to the page, with that, thankfully now it's found the URLs for the images. Okay, now if we don't do those last settings, so if we don't do that, it literally just won't find the images. Okay, so there's a bit of a mismatch here. Yeah, this one looks alright, but it looks like these images are a different size. So in the documentation, so in the Django documentation, let's go back to image field, and if you remember, we've got bits here, for example, field width. Well, actually, no, maybe we shouldn't do it here. Can we do height and width? So name of field, which can be, okay, no, because this will be sort of maximum height and width when you upload the image. Sorry, we don't want that. Okay. Okay, so what we might want to do is inside here, we might want to say image source, blah blah blah, and we might want to say width is equal to, let's say 200, and height is equal to, let's say 300 pixels. So let's see, will that work? If we were to do that, let's save that, let's run it again. Cool. Okay, they're all the same size now. The only problem is it's not really it looks like it's really out of proportion, so let's try and tweak that a bit until we get it right. Okay, so what I've done now is I've made all the heights 400, because it seems as though the width is determined by the width of the card, which we set in Bootstrap, and I don't want to play about with that because I want it to stay as it is right now. So I'm fine with that. That's not looking too bad. I've just made it a bit higher, so they're about 400 each. So now we're left with one more problem. Now the next thing we need is we need to be able to create the link here that will take us to each individual film's page, and we'll leave that for the next video.